Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to create the project recipe for a brand new collection that just came out last month. It's called Denim Revival, and it's a great all-purpose, wonderful collection for anyone that really just loves the different textures and colors and fades and patterns that you get with denim. And this time around we have some really cute additional embellishments that I think you're gonna love. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, here's my workspace for today, and we are going to go ahead and put together the Denim Revival project recipe that we talked about yesterday in the Scrapbook 101.5 lesson. Hopefully you were able to watch that, and if not, that's okay. If you are familiar with project recipes, then great. If you're not familiar with project recipes, you may want to go back and watch that real quick. It will just give you a quick breakdown on how we use a project recipe to create a two-page layout. And for me, I have gone ahead and chosen these papers that are here on the desk, and we did that yesterday in that video. We chose a medium and a light, and we chose a background paper, and rather than choosing two background papers like it says down here in the instructions, we are just going to use one, and that's going to require that we do a little bit of welding. And that welding is because I chose the paper. I chose the light paper that is actually on the back of the paper I want to use as my base. And the base is this lighter color that you see at the top and the bottom here. Okay, so we're going to do some magic and hope that it works. I think it will be just fine. And we're going to create these pages and weld them together so that we don't have to use a full base page underneath. All right, so let's see how this goes together, and if it's not working out, we may have to just go ahead and pull another piece of cardstock and build our page on there, but I'm pretty sure that this will be just fine, and we'll see how it goes, okay? I hope you'll stick with me and check it out. I'm going to grab some cardstock so that I have that handy to use as our welding material. I just have an abundance of these white strips. I don't know why. Don't ask me exactly why I ended up with all of these, but I have just a bunch from another project somewhere along the line. So we've got lots of welding material, which is good news. All right, I'm going to grab my trimmer, and we're going to get started by just trimming and following our cutting guide, just so that you know and can go ahead and get it out. I also have the RicRack Border Maker cartridge here, which we're going to use with our custom border maker system. And when we get that far, we will utilize that. I'm also going to need a piece of navy cardstock, which I have not pulled out yet, but I will in just a little bit. So for now, I'm going to not use this base page. I'm going to just set it over here, and we're going to address cutting the designer paper 1, designer paper 2, and I'll grab a piece of navy cardstock so that we can cut that as well. All right, so here's our navy cardstock, which we will get to in a second. All right, so right now I'm going to use this light paper as my designer paper number 1, represented by the green field right here, and we are going to cut this at 5 inches. So we want a piece that is 5 by 12. So I'm going to lay this on here at 5. We've got one that's 5 inches. The next one is going to be 6 by 10. So I'm going to scoot this out to my 6-inch marker that I have at the top of my trimmer. And this is just extra, so we just set that aside. And then we're going to turn this, because I know it's 12 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and cut 2 inches off of it to make it 6 by 10. Okay, so this piece is extra. I'm going to go over here to this side. This piece will come over here. Then I need a piece that is 6 by 12. And let me just take a look here and see if this is, all right. So this is a bit directional, so you have to decide whether you want the large strip, this large strip here to be, to have the V, or if you want the strip going across this way to have the V. So I think I'm inclined to have this one over here have the V, because I think we'll see more of that paper than this paper. So that means that I want to turn this, and I want a 6-inch piece, and I want a 5-inch piece. Okay, and then the 1 inch that's left is going to go over here, and that will come over here. All right, now I'm going to take my navy cardstock, and according to my guide, I'm going to cut some mats. We also need to punch a border, but because we have a little extra paper over here, I'm not going to worry about punching my border first. I'm going to go ahead and cut my mats first. So we want to cut a piece at 4.5 inches wide. Then we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut another piece that's 4.5, so we'll have a 4.5-inch square mat. And then we're going to come out here for another 6.5-inch wide by 4.5-inch mat. So I pulled my arm out to make sure I have that right, because I only have the 6-inch marked. I don't have 6.5. So there we go. And now I need this next strip right here is going to be 3.5. So we're going to cut a 3.5-inch strip. And then we're going to turn that and cut that into 2 5.5-inch mats. 5.5 inches is the very edge of my trimmer out here. So I just go ahead and put my paper right to the edge of my trimmer and cut. And that's 5.5 inches. All right. Now this remaining piece of navy we are going to use in the border maker system. And if you haven't used the border maker system before, go and watch the video that I have on my channel in the tips and tricks, and it will teach you all about the border maker system. Or it might be under tools. Honestly, I don't remember. It's been a while since I did that one. But this is such a fun tool. If you don't have it in your arsenal, you will want to get it, because it is just super. All right. So there's 2, and this particular border maker cartridge I just think was designed really, really well, because it gives you 2 borders for the price of 1, sort of. When you punch, anytime you punch it, you get 2 borders. And then you get all of these negative pieces, which actually could turn into borders as well, or the middle piece, which looks just like those. It's just cut into sections. So you get quite a bit with this particular border maker cartridge. You can do a lot with it, which is really, really nice. Now the dilemma with this is also that we are going to need some post-it notes. So if you don't have post-it notes on hand, hopefully you're already watching this and can go ahead and go back and either punch your border first or you have post-its so that you don't have to, because you'll see that this paper, there isn't quite enough of it to reach the magnet. So we do need a couple of post-it notes to be able to secure our paper and still utilize our punch. Okay. So I apologize for that. That is sometimes the case, and typically when they create a project recipe, they create it with the idea that you start from the left and work your way to the right. So you start cutting here or punching and work your way over, and usually, not always, but usually all the pieces work out well when you do that. Occasionally that doesn't work and you have to think about it a minute before you go ahead and start cutting or punching or doing what I did and starting essentially from the other side, so that you can make sure that all the pieces are cut correctly. Alright, so we're done with punching our borders, and I'm just going to set that cartridge there and put this away over here. Move these off the table over into my pile over there. Alright, now we do have a couple of extra pieces that we are going to need to cut. This piece and this piece on the top and the bottom are going to need to be cut. Now on the right hand side, this piece is 5 inches, this piece is 5 inches. That leaves us 1 inch here and 1 inch here. So we can cut two 1-inch pieces and weld those on, and that will be relatively easy. On this side, this piece is 10 inches wide, so we have 1 inch here and 1 inch here. However, we don't need it to go all the way across. We only need it to go to the beginning of this piece, and this piece is 6 inches wide. So we could just cut one strip and weld it here and weld it here. At least in my mind, that's what I'm thinking we can do. Let's see if it works, okay? So let me grab my trimmer again, and we're going to cut this base paper, and we're going to cut 3 1-inch pieces. And I'm measuring on the right hand side of my cutting guide, or cutting line, sorry. So I have 3 1-inch pieces, and now I'm going to go ahead and take this last piece that we just cut, turn it sideways, and cut it into 2 6-inch pieces. Alright, just like that. Now I'm also going to take one of my 12-inch strips for welding, and I'm going to cut that into 2 6-inch pieces. Alright, because we're going to need it to weld those pieces. And it looks like the pieces I pulled out are not fully 12 inches long. So let me grab a different one. I'm going to keep one of those out because we're going to have about a 1-inch gap that we're going to need to fill. So we're going to have that available just in case. Okay, we've got these two pieces. Let's lay these out the way that they will look on our design. Okay, this one's going to be on this side and this one's going to be on this side. Again, this one's going to be over here and this one's going to be over here. So let's save this one for just a second and we'll just focus on these two for the moment. Okay, and just because we're not using a base page, I'm going to go ahead and weld the center of these. I just had that thought. If I just go ahead and weld the middle, then I don't have to worry about that little itty bitty piece at the bottom, right? On the other side. That's not quite long enough. Hang on. Got lots of strips in here. There, that one. That will work. Perfect. Alright, so that one will be for that side. So if you haven't ever welded with me before, I'm going to flip these both over and line up that center bit. Line it up as perfectly as I can. We're going to cover the seam with the RicRack, so don't stress too much. You want it to be as close as possible, but you don't want to be making yourself crazy over it, okay? And I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive, crisscrossing over that midline. Then I'm going to take my cardstock, line it up right over the center, and then just push it down right over the adhesive. And voila! My paper is welded. Cool, huh? We're going to do that twice more, one with the top and one with the bottom. Okay, let me grab those pieces. They're right over here. These two and these two. Alright, so I'm going to flip these over. We're going to line these up. Remember, the seam's going to be covered by the RicRack punch border that we punched. So try to keep them close together, but try not to stress yourself out too much. I always try to point out to people when I do this welding trick that I learned this from CMA Sherry Tilley. She's amazing, but I always try to give her a shout out whenever I do this because this was not my idea, this was her idea, and she's amazing. Alright, so got to make sure I've got the right side out, the correct side showing. Alright, so we're going to just weld this piece on as well. I love this technique because I don't have to fuss with my papers not cooperating. Alright, so there we've got our page looking great. I'm just going to trim off a little bit of my welding material that has hung over. Only because it bugs me because I can see it. You probably can't see it online. On the video too well, but I could see it, so there we go. Okay, now to do this side and weld it up, we are going to weld the center first. Okay, so let's go ahead and we flipped them both over. If you need to, line your paper up on the grid if you're working on a grid, and I recommend that you do work on a grid. It's much easier to center things and do a lot of different tasks. But you can go ahead and just center your paper so you have 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to come through and add our adhesive across that seam. I'm going to take my 12-inch piece of welding material. I'm going to start from the bottom, even though I don't have anything on this side just now. And we're going to go all the way up like that. Okay. So that is welded together nicely. Now we're going to come back in with our base page material, right? And it's going to go there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is put some repositionable adhesive on. Oh, I think I broke that. Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me grab a different. Alright. So I'm just putting some repositionable adhesive right on top of my welding material. I'm going to go ahead and attach my base page material on so that it's stuck on that welding material. Then I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to go ahead and add, I've run out of, okay, I'm just going to use my repositionable adhesive. I think it'll be just fine. Okay, we're going to just take our welding material and weld across there. Alright, so that looks seamless, perfect. We're going to do the same thing down here. Add this in. Then we'll flip it over. Add our adhesive and our welding material right over the top. And I'm just rubbing off a little bit of extra because I got a little crazy with my adhesive there at the end. Alright. So now we have our 2 base pieces and we're ready to go ahead and adhere our RicRack. Alright, so I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive and I'm going to do the right hand side first, this one over here. Okay, and we're just going to take and we're going to do 1 strip all the way across the seam at the bottom. We're going to start it right in the middle, right covering the seam, and just guide it across so that it stays covering the seam. All the way to the other edge. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing in the middle and at the top. Then I'm going to trim off just a tiny bit on the end because my navy cardstock is just a little bit long. A little bit longer than this paper. Alright. So that side's done. Now let's go ahead and do this side. So we're going to cut this, we're going to cut one of these in half at 6 inches. You can do this on your trimmer, you can do this on, if you're working on a grid like I am, you can cut it in half with your scissors. However works best for you. We're going to do half at the bottom and half at the top on this left hand portion of the layout, and I'm going to go ahead and make it match the edge on the outside, and it won't matter if it goes over just a little bit on the inside. Okay, so just like that. Then we're going to take these two, and these two we're going to place one at a time, and they're going to nest just a little bit. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. This one's going to go directly right up the seam. Just like that. And then this one is going to be offset just a little bit, because it's going to, we're still going to be able to see a little bit of the paper between, but you want to make sure that it is offset just a little so you can see the denim underneath. Alright, so just like that. And because the navy is just a little longer than my page, I can trim one at the top and trim the other one at the bottom so that it's even. Alright, so then let's get these back in their right order. And I'm going to take my project recipe and put it over here so you can see it a little bit easier. See the sample a little bit easier. There we go. Okay, we're going to take our mats, and we're going to have the largest mat is going to go down here. That's the 4.5 by 6.5, and then the 4.5 by 4.5 is going to go above it. Okay, and then these two will go over here. These two are the 3.5 by 3.5 by, or 3 by 5. Sorry, no, the photos are 3 by 5. The pieces are 3.5 by 5.5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere those to my page. If you've been watching me for a while, then you'll know that I don't always adhere my mats to the page if I don't have a photo already in mind, and I don't have a photo already in mind for these, but I can't see turning them based on the way that this project recipe is designed. So although I am putting them on with repositionable adhesive, I doubt seriously that I'm going to turn them. So that's why I'm going ahead and adhering them on. Okay, so this one's just going to get centered and about a 1/2 inch from the bottom, maybe more like 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch from the bottom, I think, is probably going to be better better measurement. And then this one will go about 1/4 of an inch in between. A generous 1/4 of an inch, shall we say. Okay, so there's those. Now we get to choose those pockets you'll remember I mentioned yesterday. So the pockets, let me grab those. They're so cute and such a variety of pockets. I think I'm going to go with the lighter version if I can, because it'll show up better on this denim. Either a much lighter version or the much darker version. What do you think? That's a hard call. I think maybe we'll use the darker one in the middle, and we'll save these 3 for another layout. So, remember how I mentioned yesterday that it's possible that it might not be a good idea to always use these with the flaps? Because I feel like if you use the ones with the flaps, then what's the purpose of the flap? So, but I don't have another one that doesn't have a flap that's a lighter color. So maybe what we'll do is just go ahead and use this anyway. So I'm going to get my trimmer out. I'm going to cut the flap off and then glue it on the front. That way we can just use it as a pocket without having to worry about the flap. Okay, so we'll just put some adhesive on the flap and add this to the front of my pocket. All right, now the other question is, if we're going to use these for photos, it's probably good to have a photo that you can determine where you want that pocket to sit. So I just made these cute little placeholders for pictures so that I can see where the picture will sit once it's in the pocket. Because these need to be just a little bit low so they don't interfere with our photos up here. Although we could raise these up a little higher, which is the benefit of using our repositionable adhesive, right? So rather than centering these, we'll push them up just a little. So about a generous 1/4 of an inch from the top, from the RicRack on the top. Quarter inch in the middle, almost a 1/2 an inch on the edges, and then that way we can move our photos and our pockets up just a smidge so they're not right on the bottom of the page. Sound good? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this center pocket down. And then we'll do the same thing with the pockets on either side. So now we've got that. Now we also could use, part of the embellishment pack is a frame. So they've got this frame right here that's also part of the embellishment pack, and they've used that on the layout as well. So it's very, very cute, works well with a very nice photo in there. And I would say if you're going to use this frame over here, which looks really, really cute, the photos that you set in here, I would almost clip the corners off of so that they kind of match this frame over here. Does that make sense? So they would mimic this same corner that you've got over here in the corner. There are a couple of other ones that could be used, but I think I like this one best because it matches the base page that the base paper that we chose. That one's nice. This one's lovely. This one could go over your base there if you wanted. That one, you could use maybe both of these at the same time if you wanted. Anyway, just some options of some cute frames, but I think I like this one best to go right there, similar to how they have it here. Alright, let me go ahead and get the embellishments out and we'll figure out those. Alright, so the sticker pack is actually very, very cute, and I've pulled a couple of the stickers off of here, which I think are going to be very cute. The embellishment pack is cute too, but I think for my needs on this particular layout, I'm just going to use stickers. And we're going to use some foam squares, and I'm going to, just so that I can make adding a photo to this a little easier, I'm going to add some foam squares to my frame so that I can put the frame on and then come back later and add the photo. So I'm just going to put a foam square in each corner, and then that will give me some room in between to go ahead and add my picture later. And I probably ought to add something in here too. Maybe one of the little ones on the very edge. Okay, so we're just going to center that best we can. Hopefully that is not crooked. Alright, and I'm going to add just a couple of stickers on there. Maybe we'll add a star. And maybe a heart. Maybe this darker one down here. Nice. And we'll just add that right onto the frame right here, right onto the corner there. Okay, so there's one. Then I've got this other one over here, which I just thought Treasured Adventures would be very cute. This one I'm not going to add any foam squares to because I'm just going to kind of make it cross over a couple of the pockets on this side. Like that. And then maybe we'll add a big button in right here, to something to match the other buttons that we've got going. Or maybe we'll use this one with all the stars on it. And just kind of put that over the top, like so. All right. Now, let me check our... So the project recipe design shows another embellishment cluster up here above the photo right here, which we could do. If I did that, I don't think I'll put any words with it. I think it'll just be some cute denim embellishment, flowers, buttons, that kind of thing. So we probably could use another little bit of red since we did that red heart. So we'll do a red flower, and I know what we'll do. So we'll do a red heart and a blue star, I'm sorry, a red flower, a blue star, and another button of some kind. Let's see, maybe one of the star buttons. I don't know why, but I just really like those. And I'm not going to pop that up or anything. I'm just going to set that kind of up here in this far corner. Actually, because I popped the frame up, I probably ought to add some lift to this guy. Otherwise it looks a little bit odd. So let's see, we'll just do a quick foam square underneath him. And one underneath the star. Sorry, I'm having to turn this every which way but loose, but I should have put that on before and I didn't. And so now it's not playing nice. Come on, help me out here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to push those together with from underneath with my tool. There we go. Works. And I'm going to take one of these cute little red buttons and put that in the middle of that button right there so that we can bring a little bit of that red over to this side. Just a tiny little bit of it. Not much, but just a little bit. All right. So that is that. Let me know what you think. How you like that. You can't really tell that that flower is red up there, which is interesting on camera. But I think it's a cute layout. I really do like it. I think it'll look really nice once the photos are on it. It will make a big difference. But yeah, I like it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think this would work well in any of your albums and which album you think it would work best in. All right? Thanks so much for joining me. I hope this has been helpful and inspiring, and I hope you enjoy the Denim Revival Collection. It's definitely very multi-purpose, and I feel like going to be very, very fun to use. Thanks again. You have a great day, and until next time, I wish you many more creative moments.